So for step 12, attaching the servo stay, well, there's actually quite a bit of work that we have to do in this step. The first thing we're going to be doing is putting the servo into this part, A1, and then we move on to putting together the servo arm, and we've got these little interesting grub screws that have to go in, and you can see where the positioning of that all goes. And then, of course, we have this arm, and then we've got the rubber O-rings that are going to go over all of this in this step. So there are all of the parts and the hardware that we need for this step. So I'll set this up and let's put this together. So right off the bat, we need to get our servo put into part A1. Now you can see over here, it is talking about the fact that depending on the servo, you're going to have to attach this differently. Now it's showing that they wanted 10 millimeters from the arm here up to where the servo is. So based on how they're showing the general diagram, this would slide inside of there and then attach just like that. But depending on how your servo is, you may have to flip this around. Now I've done a pre-measurement test, and I've got the 10 millimeters from here to here is actually about 12, which is what they're saying is okay, 10 to 12. And as the Futaba servo is pretty standard and very similar to the Tamiya servos, I think it's going to be an okay match. So if we look at the positioning, which is, if I put this together the same way they have it, you can see on this side there are rounded bits that actually can fit right into the holes that the Futaba servo have. So that's just going to sit there like that. So what we're going to need to do is screw them in with these MA3 screws, and we've got our washers, and we're using all four. Now what's interesting is in most Tamiya kits, they only have you attach 2 screws. They might have one screw here and then one screw diagonally across, and that's usually good enough. But because this kit has the servo staying vertical, and the entire system is based on the turning of the servo, I think they've probably set this up so that you make sure that you have this way more secure than in other kits. So I'm just gonna screw this in, and I'm not gonna go too far. I want to make sure that that's going in level, which it's not quite. So I'm just gonna back this out. There we go. Make sure that's correct. Yes. So we're going to do another one here. And I'll attach this one on the other side, just so that I've got something in that's going to be somewhat stable here. Let's make sure that goes in there. Come on. There we go. And that's pretty level. And then we've got the other 2 that are going to have to go across. So I'm just going to do that off camera so that we can move along a little quicker. But you get the idea that all 4 screws are going to have to go into this. So there is the servo fully installed. I've tightened everything down. And it talks about the fact that you want to ensure that the servo is level. Well, you can see with this, it is level. So this part is done. That's great. It's finished. So what we're going to do now is move on to this piece here, which is, I guess you could say, is the main sort of servo replacement horn. And you can see that in terms of the diagram, the piece that's here is the circular piece. It's facing down, and you can see it in the diagram there as well. So we're going to need to put on our ball connector, and you can see that in this piece, everything is sitting on the inside. So we need that to be on the inside. So just grab the handy dandy box wrench, see which one will fit. Yes, it will be that one. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure that we're getting this in level. Looks pretty level. And we'll just screw this in. Pretty level there. So there we go. There is our ball connector in place. Now these two bits, they are these little grub screw pieces here, and you're going to need to use an Allen key to put them in. And same idea, we need to put them at the same level as the ball connector. So they are getting attached right there. So again, just make sure that they are going in level. Looks about right. In fact, I'm going to use this end. And you can see that we're going to need to screw these in. Yeah, it's level. All the way so that when the end, we've got it actually flush. It's an interesting design. It's a bit stiff, but it's going in. Okay, that's a little too far, so I'm going to back it off. And you can see that it is pretty much level with the top of the plastic, which is what it's supposed to be right here, so that when you're looking at it head on, you don't actually see anything, but it's there. Everything is level. So we need to do the same thing with the other side. So I'll grab the Allen key again, and we're going to put this one onto the other side. Got to get it started. Make sure it's level. Almost looks about right. There we go. Almost there. Yep, that looks about right. So all three heads are pretty much level and right at the end of the plastic. So ultimately that's what it's going to look like. Very interesting design. So with that in mind, we now have this arm to put in place. And you can see that there are two ways that this can go. And this looks like it's more of the open end. So you can see there, it's deeper inside. Like if we were to turn this around, yes, there's there's a ridge, but you can see in the diagram, it's a much deeper. So we need to put it on that way. So we're going to grab this. We're going to put on this. So that's going to go in first, just like that. Then this is going to sit on top, which means that we're going to use the MB3 screw, which is going to come up from the bottom, just like that, and screw into the arm just like that. So if I just turn this around just to make this easier to be able to hold it, we can start screwing that in. Looks about right. Yeah, almost. Yep. So that ends up being the arm. So if we look at the picture, the way that would be, that is how it would look. So now we've got our three O-rings. So we'll stick those on. And there's an O-ring over the ball connector, which is interesting. Whoops. So if we try this again, there's the O-ring over top of the ball connector. So ultimately, that is what it's going to end up looking like. So between those two things, that is step 12. So we are finished and we can move on to now step 13, where we're going to start working on the battery case.